Hey, hi everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to learn that how to set up and run your very first test in the Node.js using the built-in test runner. And the best part that you don't need any third-party libraries like Jest or Mocha. Node.js now comes with its own native test runner. So starting from the version 18 and above, it is available. So let's start. Let's see that how we work with it, right? So first of all, you make sure that you have the Node.js version of 18 and the above, right? And after that, let's just start. So npm init dash y, press enter. So we are just creating our node project, right? So yeah, it is the package.json is here. Now what we will do is that we will basically create a file named math.js, right? So what I will do, I'll create math.js file, and inside of this, what I'll do, I'll create a function which will be adding two numbers, right? So let's say function of naming add a comma b, and here inside of this I'll write return a plus b. That's it, right? Now I will simply export it. So I'll write module.export equals to curly bracket add, like this. Got it? Now what I will do now, basically this is our small function which is adding just two numbers. Now in the next step, we will create a test file, and by the convention we will use .test.js. Let me show you. So what I'll do, I'll create a new file name math.test.js, like this. Got it? You can see the logo here. So basically this is the testing file. So here what I'll do, I'll write const test equals to require, put a bracket here, and inside of this we'll write node test, like this. So make sure that you use node colon test, right? What is it? Basically this is the node.js, a built-in test module, right? So it is already available to you. You just need to require it. After that we will use const assert equals to require, put a bracket here, and inside of this I'll write node assert, right? Node assert, like this. Now what is this? It is used to check the condition basically in the node.js, right? So that's it. After that we will write const bracket add. We are now going to call our add function from the math.js file. So we will write require and give the address math, like this. Got it? Now after that, just test, put a bracket here, and add to number comma, put a bracket like this, and inside of this I'll write const result equals to add 2 comma 3, and then, sorry, I just did a mistake. Yeah, so here I'll write assert dot strict equal to result. Now I told you now that assert is useful to check the condition. That's why assert dot strict equal that this particular result should be equal to result comma 5, right? If we are adding 2 or 3, then definitely there should be a result of 5, right? So this is what we are checking, that whether it is giving me a right result or not, right? So by doing this, now after that we just need to go and write node dash dash test. Let's see that whether it will work or not. So what happened is, let me show you. So what happened that it has given me a tick. Can you see? So it has given me a tick. That means that we have successfully written and run our first test using the Node.js native test runner, and the test is 1, suit 0, and the pass is 1. Means our pass is successfully done. Got it? So this is how we work with the Node.js native test runner. You see a green check mark here on the top, and in most of other system there could be a OK in the green color, right? So which basically means that your test is successfully passed, right? And that's it. This is what we are going to learn in the very first lecture. We have created a project folder. We wrote a simple function which is math.js. Then we wrote a test, that is math.test.js. Then we ran it inside, basically using the node dash dash test. Make sure that you use this, basically, right? So this is how we work with it. That how to use assertions and handle error in Node.js native test runner, right? So this assertion are used to check that whether our code is working correctly, and error handling ensures that we don't silently ignore the bugs. So let's see that how it works and how we can do it. So first of all, what I'll do is that I'll create a file named math.js, and inside of this I will write two different functions. One is for the addition and second is for the division, right? So I'll write function add, and here I'll write a comma b, and inside of it I'll write return a plus b, like this. Got it? After that I'll write function divide a comma b, and inside of this I'll say that if the b is equals to 0, in that particular case you do what? You just throw error new error, put a bracket inside this, write your message that cannot divide by 0, like this. Got it? And after that just return. So let me just wrap it inside a curly bracket. Okay, so let me just, okay, now here what I'll do, just return your a divided by b, right? Like this. So this is the basic two functions, and now we are going to export them. So I'll write module dot exports, put a bracket, and not bracket, equals to, put a curly bracket, and here write the name of both the functions. So the name is add comma divide, right? So this is our basic math.js file where we have having two different functions. Now for testing we will create another file named math.test.js. So test.js, like this. Got it? Now inside of this we will write our testing code. So first of all what I'll do is that first I'll import the test, right? So Node.js provide a test module. So like const test equals to require, and inside of this write node colon test, like this. And then const assert equals to require, and inside of this I'll write node colon assert, like this. Got it? After that const add comma divide. Let's import those two different function that we had created from, okay, not from, sorry, that will be equals to require, put a bracket, and here give the address, that is math, right? So we have imported the three different modules. Basically first is the test, second is the assert, and the two different functions that we had created. And now after this we will test for the correct addition. So test for correct addition, right? So here I'll write test, and inside of this I'll write add function should return correct sum, right? And after that let's just write the logic, that is assert dot strict equal. So basically assert is used for what? For the condition. So I'm giving the assert, that is condition, to be that it should be strictly equals to add what, 2 comma 3, right? So when you do 2 comma 3, the addition of that, it will return 5, right? So I want that it should be strictly equals to the 5. Similarly what I'll write, I'll again write the same, and let's change the value for other. So like let's say that it is 1 comma minus 1, right? And it should be equals to 0. So this will actually return the correct sum, right? So basically this is the first test. Now let's move to the second, where we are going to make the intentionally we are going to create an error, right? So I'll write intentional error, right? So here what I'll do is basically I'll write test, put a bracket inside of this. I will write add function uh, should fail, right? Add should function should fail when result is incorrect, right? Is incorrect. This is the message for you. Now after that, comma, and let's create the arrow function here, and inside of this I will do what? I will write assert, the same that we had done earlier, strict equal, put a bracket, and here I'll call the function that is add 2 comma 2, and then here I'll going to write 5. So you also know that this 2 comma 2 will return for 4, but what I'm giving this 5, so I'm making it strictly equal to 5. So we will see that what result we will get when we will run it, right? Now after that we will test for the divide function also, right? So let's do that. So test for divide function, right? So here what I'll do is that I'll copy just this, let's copy it and paste it here, and let's name it divide, and divide function should return the correct result basically, right? And here I'm going to do, right, what, that is divide, and then not 2 comma 3, let's give it 6 comma 2. So 6 comma 2, and it should be equals to what, 3, right? So this is what we will check, that whether we get the right result or not, right? Testing result. And the second one is that we will test divide function error handling. This divide function we are going to check for the error handling, right? So let's write the error handling like this, and here I'll write test divide function should throw error when handling, or I'll say that when dividing by 0. Got it? So this is for you. Now let's just call the function, arrow function, and inside of this we'll do what, assert dot throw, and here inside of this let's put a arrow function and call the divide and give the value like 5 comma 0. So we know that when you divide a number by the 0, it will show me an error, because we had also defined this here also, right, to throw a error that cannot divide by 0. So that's what's going to happen, right? So here I'll say that the name, put the name as error, and the message, let's say that cannot divide, right? So yeah, like this. So now let's run the code and see that how this testing is working, right? So let's just write here node, let's just first save it, right? Node, and listen, for the test we need to write node dash dash test and press enter, and yes, I got something, I think, right? Let's see that was the result. So there is some mistake in the code. Okay, okay, I got it. What's the error? Basically, you can see here I have written the message as cannot divide, but in the math.js, what we had given cannot divide by 0. This is the basically error case that we are giving, right? So there's a mismatch. So we, in case of like error handling, we need to give the right message here also, like this cannot divide by 0. Just save it. Let's just save it and let's run it again from here. What happened? Yeah, let's come to the end and enter. So now if you see, we got the result, and here you can see it is showing that the first add should return correct sum is yes, it is correct, and our second, which we made the intentionally wrong, right? You can check we made our second test as a wrong, right? So it is showing me that this add function should fail when result is incorrect, which is the our message is basically a wrong, right? It is showing me error here. And after that, this divide, yes, it is correct. This is giving a right result, so the test is passed. And the second last one, that is it giving the same message, right? Or is it showing the same error? Or in case of dividing by 0, yes, so it divide shows the same error, right? So it is also the test case is passed. So there are 4 test case, pass is 3, fail is 1. As you can see, everything is shown here, so you don't need to go to the Jest or the Mocha for it. Now everything is in your front, that you can simply use just Node native test runner. And by this method, you can see all the errors, right? Like in the case of second function that we had created, that is add function should fail when result is incorrect. In that particular case, it is showing me that 4 is not equals to 5, right? Expected value should be strictly equal, but here 4 is not equals to 5. That's why I'm getting the error. So this is what our code is all about, and this is what our particular lecture is all about. So this is all. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye. That how to organize test suites and subtest in the Node.js native test runner. So as you can see, I'm having a file named math.js, and inside of it I have written two different functions. One is the add function and the second one is the divide function. In the add function, I'm returning the sum of two different parameters, which is a and b. And in the divide, I first put a condition, that is if the b is 0, then you throw a error of that division by 0, right? And otherwise just written a divided by b, that's it. So this is our math.js function. Now we are going to perform all the type of tests based on these two functions. So let's start. So I'm on the math.test.js file. As you can see, I have created the second file name, math.test.js, right? Yeah. So let's first import few things. That is, first import test from node test, right? And after that, we need to import assert from the node assert, right? So let's import assert from node assert, like this. Got it? Now after that, what we will do, we will import those two functions that we have created here. So I'll write import add comma subtract from math.js file. Let me just pause my copilot for a few minutes. It is creating a disturbance. Yeah. After that, now let's first start with the simple test of addition, right? So I'll do what? I'll just write simple test for add. Here I'll do what? I'll write test, and inside of this I'll write add should return correct sum, right? And let's put the arrow function here, like this. And after that, I'll do what? I'll write assert dot strict equal, right? Strict equal. Inside of this, I'll call this function add. Now this assert is used for the conditions, right? I'll tell you how. So basically I put 2 comma 3 here, and then comma 5. So what I'm saying, that you do the test such that this function to add of, means this function add, which is having two different argument 2 and 3, will do what? Will show me the result as 5. If it is equal, then give me the right answer, means you show me that the test is correct. Otherwise, just show me that it is not correct, there's an error, right? This is what we are going to do. Now we do the simple test for the divide also. Let's just copy the complete part here, and like this, simple test for divide, and divide here also, and divide here also, divide, like this. Got it? Now here Let's change these numbers. Let's make it 6 comma 2, 6 comma 2, and the value should be 3. Let's check it that whether it is giving me the right answer or not. So let's first save it and open the terminal. Here I'll write what. So basically for testing, what we do, we write node dash dash test like this and press enter. So there is some error, I guess. So it is saying that it's not subtract. Okay, this copilot always create the problem. I knew that. Okay, let's run it again. Node dash dash test, and as you can see on the top, since it is correct, right, it is correct, that's why it is giving me a tick here, which is showing that the test is now correct. And the second divide, it is also correct because we had written 6 comma 2 and it is giving me that particular 3 here, right, like this. So this was the test for the add and divide. Now let's move forward towards the main topic of our lecture today, which is test suits. Test suits. Now what is this? Well, basically test suite is a group of related tests. As you can see, I have done two different tests here, right? So like that, this test suite is a group of such related tests, right? These two are independent, but if the two different tests are related to each other, we just group it together and make it inside this test suites, right? So we can organize the test inside a parent block to make the results cleaner, right? So let's take an example of wrapping the math related test in a suit. So what we need to do first, let's make test, put a bracket here. Inside of this I'll write math. This is the format which I am writing, right? You need to just follow the same while working. Test math suit. Let's give a comma here and I'll write async, put a bracket. Inside of this I'll write let's give it t, right? And after that, let's start the main work. So first of all, since we have made it async, right? So what we are doing, we are making it asynchronous. So I'll write await here, await t dot test, put a bracket, and inside of this I'll write, let's give a message that is add should return correct sum, like this, right? And here I'll just put a comma and like this, let's create an arrow function. Got it? Let me just close this. Yeah, like this. So here I'll write what? I'll write assert dot strict equal, put a bracket, and inside of this I'll write add 2 comma 3 comma 5, like this. Got it? So this is one test, right? Now similarly, I'll just copy it and now paste it inside here. And again I'm saying that let's create it for the divide, so I need not to do the things differently. I'll just doing what, I'll just wrapping all the math related tests in a particular suit, right? So strict equal 2 comma 3 and then 5 is similarly for the divide. Let's just change few thing. Assert dot strict equal, let's make it divide. Let's give it some different value, that is 6 comma 2 that we given earlier. Let's check it again that whether it will give me the same result or not, right? And after that, let's give the case for the error also, right? If you can see here in the divide function, I had given a case for the error, right? So it will throw what, division by 0 error. Got it? So that's what we are going to do. So basically I'll do what, I'll write await, or I just, let's paste it here, t dot test and divide, correct, divide. Let's remove everything from here. Divide should throw error on 0. You can write anything that you want. It's just because I want you to have the clarity that what I'm doing, that's why I'm writing such long message. Let's write assert dot throws, put a bracket here, like this, right? I created a what, arrow function, and inside of this we are going to write divide, put a bracket, 10 comma 0. So this time I'm taking the b as 0, which will definitely throw an error, right? So just put a comma here, and here we will write what? We will write like this: division by 0, and let's close the bracket like this. Okay, it is already closed. So this is how we have written it, right? Let me just check it again, that is everything correct or not. Throws, then you put a bracket here, and then yeah, I think it is totally correct, right? Fine. So now let's move forward. I think there's no need of this curly bracket here, right? That's why I was thinking that there should be an error. Let's just save it and go to the terminal again, and let's see that whether it will give me the result as expected or not. So I'll write node dash dash test and press enter, and yes, you can see what is happening here. So at first it is doing what? It is giving me the result for those that we did earlier, right? So it is saying that yes, it was correct, divide was correct earlier. Now for the math function shoot that we have created, as you can see here, this is showing me that this is what? This is math function suit, right? It is already detected from here. So as you can see, if we start from here, so first of all it is saying that the add is correct, divide is correct. Divide is showing the same error, right? Means in case of 0 it is giving that particular error, which is showing that the test case was correct, right? So our math function suit is now correct because all the test cases inside of this are also correct. This is how it works. Got it? I hope you understood that how we work with the test suits, right? So this is how we do. Now let's move forward towards subsets, right? Now we are going to talk about the subsets. Well, subset is a smaller test inside a bigger test, right? It also works like the same, but it is useful when one feature has multiple scenarios, and it keeps the test report very clean and structured, right? So that's why we use it. I'll just give you some example to understand it better, right? So let's start working with the add function now. So what I'll do, I'll explain you everything related to, means what I said, that it is useful when one feature has multiple scenarios. So for the divide function, all the multiple scenarios could be what? The positive number, the negative number, kind of mixed number, right? So we will check that whether it will be correct or working with all the cases or not, right? So let's start since it is basic. So uh, the thing will look like same all the time, but that's the real work of it, right? With multiple cases, let's put a comma here, async and t, and let's write it like this. And here I'll do what? I'll write await t dot test, put a bracket, and here I'll write positive number like this, and asserts dot strict equal like this, and inside of this I'll write add function with 2 comma 2 and comma 4 like this, right? So what is happening, that we are now checking for the positive number of the add function, right? This is for the positive number. Similarly, let's create few more for the negative number, and let's do it for the mixed number. So let's just change the values here. Let's make it -2 and -2, and here let's make it -4. And similarly for here, let's do it -2 and 2, and let's give this at 0, right? So this is what? This is doing what we are doing. We are making subtests. Sorry, subtests, right? So it is a smaller test inside a bigger test, right? So bigger test is what? Basically we are working for the add function, and smaller test, that all these different like positive number, negative number, and mixed number, these are all what? These are small tests, right, of that particular. So let's do one thing that let me just comment down, otherwise it will be too much bulky in the terminal. Let's write. So let's just save it and go to the terminal. And now let's clear it out. And now I'll do a node dash dash test and press enter. And you can see that testing add with multiple cases means add function with the multiple cases. So all the cases that we want, that for the positive number, for the negative number, for the mixed number, for all the cases, that particular add function is working correctly, right? So testing add with multiple cases is our correct, right? So you can see 4 tests, suits are 0, pass are 4, and the fails are 0. So this is showing me that yes, our add function is totally correct with all the multiple scenarios that could possible, right? So this is all about today's video. I explain you that how we work with the test suits and the subsets in the math.test.js file. Hey, hi everyone. In this particular lecture, we are going to learn about that how to test asynchronous code in Node.js using its native test runner. Well, in real world applications, most operations are asynchronous, like reading files, making API calls, database queries, everywhere, right? So we need proper ways to test the callback promises and the async await, right? So let's start the lecture. Let's understand that how we can do it. So first of all, what I'm going to show you that I have created 3 different files: async await, async callback, and the async promise.js. And I will write the code here, and then we will make the test cases and the test file of this particular JS file and test all the cases, right? So let's start. So here I have written a code for the async callback.js file, and what is happening here is basically I have exporting a function named fetch data callback. Inside of this I'm taking callback, right? And what I'm saying that I'm creating a set timeout for 100 milliseconds, and I'm saying that callback null means these are the parameters, right? So callback null and hello world, right? So let's go to the test.js file and see that how we can make the testing of it, right? So we'll create here async callback dot test js, like this. Got it? Inside of this, first of all, what we'll do, we will import test from, since we are going to perform the test, right? So we will use the inbuilt node test, like this. And after that, we will do what? We will import assert from node assert, right? Like this. Got it? Now after that, we will import this particular function inside here. So let's just make it import from async callback dot js file, right? Like this. Now after doing this, let's write the code for the testing. So first of all, we need to write test, then put a bracket here, and inside of this, let's write the message that it should return all. Let me just write the name again. Fetch data callback should return hello world, right? Hello world, like this. So after writing this, we need to just put a comma here and create an arrow function like this. And here I will write t comma done, right? 2 different parameters. And here inside of it, I'll write fetch data callback, which we have imported here, right? And after that, let's put a bracket and again a bracket, and here err is showing the error, and the second one is data, and assert dot strict equal data comma hello world, like this. Got it? And then done. That's it. So we use done to tell the runner that the callback is now completed, right? So let's do what? Let's just run it and see that whether it is working or not, right? I think everything is done now for the callback. Okay, let's clear it out and let's write node dash dash test and press enter. And you can see that yes, the fetch callback function should return hello world. This particular test is correct here, right? It is correct. So this is how we do the testing of callback with the help of Node.js native test runner. Now let's move forward toward the async promise.js file. So here I have written the function that is fetch data promise, and inside this I'm returning a promise where I'm having the resolve, as you know, right? We use the resolve to check that when the data is got resolved, right, when the query is fully completed. So set timeout and then resolve hello promise after 100 millisecond. So after 100 millisecond it should give a hello promise to me, right? Means it should print with this or give as a result basically, right? So let's create a test for this also. So what I'll do, I'll write async promise dot test dot js, right, like this. And now let's start the working of this particular test file. So first of all, what we will do, let's just copy this two lines. We need to import here also. So let's paste it here like this. And after that, let's import the fetch data promise from async promise file, right? So .js, let's put .js here. Now after that, let's write test, and inside this fetch data promise should resolve with hello promise, like this, right? Not like, let's put a comma here and then create an arrow function. Let's create an arrow function like this, and inside this I'll write return fetch data promise, right, dot then. We use the then, right, then keyword after like promise to get the result basically, right? So like this. And after that I'll just write assert dot strict equal and data comma hello promise. Let's just do one thing. Let's copy it from here. So here I'm doing what? I'm writing that particular result, right? So it will make the condition or check for the equal that the data that is coming basically is equal to this hello promise or not, right? If it is, then the test is successful, otherwise the test will fail, right? So let's just save it and go to the terminal. Let's clear it out and write node dash dash test and press enter. And yes, it is correct, right? You can see fetch data promise is now correct. Why? Because it is returning the same result which we were expecting from that particular function of the promise, right? This is how we work with it. Now the last part of the lecture is to make the testing for the async await. We will create a file name async await dot test dot js. Press enter. Inside this I'll just paste these lines from the top. Let's copy it out and let's paste it here. After that, for this I'm going to use the same fetch data promise, right? Where it on this one, right? I'm using this to show you that whether or how it works. So I'll write import fetch data promise from async promise.js file, right? And after that, let's write test, and let's write the name of test, that fetch data promise with async await, right? Let's put a comma and write async, and here I write const data equals to await and fetch data promise. So first of all, what I'm doing, I'm creating a wait for this particular function to run, and whatever the result I'll get will get stored inside this data, right? And after that, I'm doing what? I'm just writing assert dot strict equal, and I'm writing that data is equals to the hello promise or not, right? Not like this. Let's take this hello promise from here and write it here like this. Got it? So this will do what? This will mark the test function as the async, right? Let's save it and go to the terminal, and let's write the node dash dash test. Press enter, and you can see fetch data promise with async await is now correct. Why? Because it has taken the less time, right? Basically it is asynchronous, basically, right? So what is happening here is that I'm first storing the value that is coming as the output from that particular function, and then I'm making it equal, that whether that particular data is equals to this or not. If I had not used this async await in that particular case, since the promise is returning, let me show you this. This is returning the result after 100 milliseconds. But if we had not used this async await, right, then in that particular case it will directly make it equal to this. And since the value will not come from this particular function before the 100 milliseconds, and the so this particular line will get executed, and it will show that the result is wrong, right? So this is how we do the testing in the async await and all the callback and the promises in the Node.js native test runner. Hey, hi everyone. In this particular lecture we are going to learn about that how to use these test hooks in the Node.js native test runner. Well, hooks are the special functions that run before or after the test, right? So they help us to do the setups, like connecting to a database, or the tear down, like closing connections, right? So this makes our test code cleaner, it avoids duplication, and ensures the consistency, right? So let's start the lecture. Let's see that how we work with it. So before starting, let me tell you a few of the hooks. The hooks that are used in Node.js are before, after, before each, and after each. We will learn about it in the later part. Let's first see the counter.js file. So here I'm having a class named counter, which I'm exporting, of course. Inside this, we are having a constructor where I'm saying that this dot value is equals to 0, and there's an increment method where the value is incrementing by 1, and in the reset, automatically the value will become 0. Right, so this is a class. Now we are going to use it in our counter.test.js file. How? Let's see. So first of all, what I'm going to do is that I will import the test from, you tell me from where. It will be from node test, right? And the second one is what? Second one is assert, right? So import assert from let's write here node assert like this. Got it? After this, let's call the that particular class. So I will import counter, counter, yeah, counter from slash counter.js, right? Like this. Got it? Now after this, let's start the main work. So first of all, I'll create the subtest, that is test counter suit with hooks, right? So this is a test suits, and inside this we are going to write a lot of tests. But let me explain you first that how we are going to work with it. So I write async t arrow function like this, and here I'll write let counter. So I'm taking a variable named counter, and now here I'm going to use all the hooks and then explain you everything. So as you can see here, the first hook, okay, let me just uh where it went, okay, format document. So as you can see here, first of all, what I doing that I'm using t dot before. This is the first hook. This before is a first hook. Inside of this, I'm having an arrow function, right? And it is written that console.log setting up resources. So before starting, we want that before all the tests get start, just do one thing, that run this particular before all the tests. Means I want something to run before all the tests will start running. So there we use this before hook, right? And there's one more hook that is after. It is just reverse of that, that after completion of all the tests, I want a particular statement or the function to run. We write it inside this after hook, right? After that there is one more which is runs before every test. Means whenever, like, you have written lots of tests inside this test suite, right? So I want that before any test start, a particular function or particular test should run. Basically for that purpose, what we use before each, right? It will doing something like, in this particular example, it is doing what, it is calling that particular function and creating the variable with this particular counter class that we have imported, right? Now, similarly, there's one more which is runs after every test, after using this after each hook. Means whenever a particular test will run, after that, after that particular test, this particular function will run. And it is doing what? It is doing counter dot reset. Means it is calling this particular method which is making the value as 0, right? Inside the constructor we are having a variable value equals right, and the initial value is 0, and after calling the increment the value is getting 1, and when the reset, then again the value becomes 0. So this is same what is happening, that when you are working inside any test, right? Let's say that you are doing some of the task in which you are incrementing the values again and again, right? So when that particular test will end, then it will do what? It will like for all the tests it will again make the value as 0, right? This is what it is used for. Similarly, for before each, it will create a variable having the class counter, right? Now let's start with working with the actual test. So for that purpose, let me just go down and write actual test like this. Sorry, yeah, like this. So here what I'll do is basically uh, yeah. So I'll write await t dot test, put a bracket here, and here I say that increment should increase the value by 1. This is my test, right? I want that increment should increase the value by 1, right? I want to test this, that whether the value is incrementing or not. So I'm just creating a arrow function here, and I'm writing counter dot increment, right? Is the spelling correct or not? Let's just copy it from here, otherwise it will show me a error, right? So let me just paste it. Yeah, it was correct. So let's just write the bracket here, and after that, since as you can see, before each means whenever this particular test will run, first of all this will run before of that, and it will create a counter class, right? And then I'm calling this particular method which is increment of the counter, which means the value is now 1, right? The value is now 1, not 0. So we, that's what we are going to check. So we will put the condition with the help of assert dot strict equal, and inside of this we'll write counter dot value, right? Because this value variable is inside this counter, right? So now after that, put a comma here and make it test that whether it is equals to 1 or not, right? So let's just save it and go to the terminal. Here I'll write node dash dash test. Let's put a gap here and press enter, and you can see that first of all it did what? Let me show you. It did what? It first do that setting up the resources. So before starting, I told you that you need to run this before, right? So it, if you want any, like when you are running lots of case tests, right? So you want something to start at the first, right? Before all the tests will start, you want something to get started. So there we use before, and that's, you can see, when before all the tests start, we are getting setting up resources from here, right? After that, it is doing what? It is cleaning up the resources, and then the counter suit with the hook, means we came here, as you can see here, that is okay, wait, where it went, yeah. So you can see the counter suit with hooks, and there our this particular test where the increment should increase by the value of 1, this particular test is now correct. Why? Because the value of counter dot value is equals to 1, right? So you can understood from here that before this particular test run, definitely this particular before it should also get started. That's why we got this counter class here, right? And then we use the counter dot increment here. Got it? So this is how we work. Now let's test it again for some other test, right? Like await t dot test and put a bracket here, and inside of this I'll write reset should set value to 0. So let's check for the reset, right? So let's create the arrow function here, and let's do one thing, that since before this particular test will start, definitely this will run, it will create the counter class, right? So I'll do what, and definitely when this is on the top, so here the counter value is now equals to 1, but when this particular test get ended, then this will run, right? So this is doing what, it will making the it will making the value as reset. It is calling this reset method, right? So it make the value now 0, value equals to 0. It has done it. So again we are calling the counter dot increment like this. Got it? And then I'm saying counter dot reset. So first of all it is making the value as 1, and then it is again making the value as 0, and after doing both the thing I'll write assert dot strict equal, and inside of this I'll write counter dot value comma 0 like this. Got it? Now let's check for this test also. So let's go to the terminal, let's clear everything and write node dash dash test, press enter, and yes, you can see that reset should set value to 0. This particular test is also correct, and we are getting the counter value equals to 0 this time. Why? Because we understood that first of all the value got increased to 1, then it got decreased to 0, and then after that we made the check which is strict equal to the value as equals to 0, and yes, it is 0. That's why our test got successfully passed, right? So I hope you understood the concept, that how we use this particular method or hooks in the Node.js native test runner. And thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.